All right, everybody. I am here with my boy, Justin Rondeau. We're excited to do this interview, and I'm just going to start things off with asking you, Justin, who are you? What do you do, and who do you do it for?
So that's actually funny that you kind of said it exactly like that, because I watched Kindergarten Cop last night, and there's a game in Kindergarten Cop when Arnold's like, "Who is your daddy and what does he do?" And it just really sounded like you were going that avenue, and that's what happens when you watch Kindergarten Cop the night before an interview. So I run the marketing department here at Digital Marketer, and we're a digital marketing training and education company. And I'm a little biased, but I think we're the best people who do that and are likely the most qualified based off of the different companies that are within our portfolio companies and the places where we kind of test out new things. Originally got my start kind of really digging into data analytics and conversion rate optimization about 7-8-ish years ago. And I just kind of got really obsessed with that and started training people to grow their optimization teams and build an optimization culture, because that's what was really it was kind of the hot topic at the time back then. And it required a lot of cross-departmental work. And that's where I kind of got into more of the training and education side of things. So on top of kind of being a doer of marketing practices between, not just testing, but also, creating promotional calendars, writing copy, email marketing, all that fun stuff, and overseeing all that, I also have to find ways to break it down and train people to do it, whether they're employees, whether they're customers, or whether they're partners.
So what's it like running the marketing department for a digital marketing company? It seems like super meta.
It is. You took my word. It's like marketing to marketers about marketing is a little meta. And I think if we could fit in one more marketing term in there, I think my head would explode. And it's actually like whenever I'm in an Uber and they always ask you what you do, I start going off into that tangent and then they regretted it. But it's tough because you do have to stay on top of things, and you're really highly scrutinized, both by the public, and also, we have a great culture here, but internally, I'm working with some of the best marketers in business, like our co-founder and CEO, Ryan Dice, and then Richard Lindner, who's our president, some of the best people out there. And so you got to be on top of your stuff at any given time. And we do have a culture here of just always learning. I've been challenging myself to read about a book a week, which has been tough with everything else that's going on. But we've also kind of put into practice focus hours and those types of things at work, where you can just kind of sit there and learn and do that type of stuff. Because if we're not trying to educate ourselves and grow, our customers are going to feel that, and then our revenue is going to feel that as well.
Absolutely. Good stuff. So tell our listeners a little bit more about Digital Marketer. So I love that you spoke the culture a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about what your vision is as a company.
Yeah. So, as a company, we've been on a mission to really our main mission is to double the size of 10,000 small businesses by 2020, which is we're getting close every day. It's another day closer to that. And we really believe that small businesses are kind of what everything is built upon, and small businesses deserve to win. But it's never the case anymore that the best products win, or best products or services win anymore. It's really the ones that, get heard. And we really believe we want to help the best products and service win again. And I think we can help them doing that through training and education. So we've been doing that by creating, different execution checklists, which is in our Digital Marketer Lab product. We moved to training and certifications to get people to have a broad understanding of things, and then moving into the execution side of things of I understand this, now I can do this. And then we've also moved into kind of group coaching and accountability. But the biggest probably pivot we made was a couple years ago, and this has been a couple years in the making, because partner programs are very, very hard. But when we decided to launch the Digital Marketer Partner Program, we had realized that there was no chance that we'd be able to help double the size of 10,000 small businesses without having the help of different agencies and consultants out there that are actually doing the work, because they kind of connect the dots. We'll show you a before and after, but we don't have the manpower or woman power to get that done for people, nor are we very good at it. To be quite honest, the agency and service business is tough. I know you guys know it very, very well. It's really tough. And then I've also seen that there's a lot of connections between like agencies and digital marketer, in that we always have to stay on top of our stuff, because like we're training people and educating people how to do this type of stuff. And if we're not on the cutting edge, we lose. And then if agencies aren't on the cutting edge of tactics and those types of things, then they'll lose because they'll be beat out by a competitor. So I think we have very, very aligned kind of focuses and missions. And then also just our bottom line, also, we have to live and die by growth and education.
Yeah. And I love what you're saying in the perspective. And I think that that's something that a lot of agencies at some point make a shift from, we do the things for our clients, and I think it's easy to have the mindset of like, we withhold this knowledge for ourselves so that you can pay us to do all of this stuff for you. But I think at Impact, and even for myself personally, like there was a time where my mindset shifted to say, if I can educate my clients about how to do a lot of these different things and give them the vision for inbound, give them the vision for doing digital marketing, the vision for using HubSpot, and show them how to do it and teach them, not just give them fish, but teach them how to fish, right? I'm going to be they can pay me to do even more valuable things that are really going to move the needle, because they're not paying me to, row the boat kind of a thing.
Yeah. And I think you said it so perfectly there when you're talking about clients, because one of the big things we do with our partner program is we give all of our trainings to the partners. And then a lot of them now are like, at first there was pushback and they're like, well, why would I want to train my people? Because I do the work for them. It's like, well, one, the conversations are going to be way more fruitful. And there's nothing like seeing all the stuff that has to get done and understanding what it takes to being like, oh, you know what, you do that. Like, I just don't want to do it. It's like, I bought a house recently, and like the work that has to get done for stuff, it's like, oh, I could go do that. And I know kind of what's involved there. I also know what my limitations are, and I'm going to have someone else do it. Like, education is paramount to, I think, any good relationship on the agency side of things, and really for any kind of like business to customer relationship. I mean, I think we're in an era where our customers are far more intelligent and far more aware of what's going on. Like, if you ever hear people kind of talk about lizard brains and all type of stuff like that, I think that they're completely undervaluing the type of customers that are out there now. Like, if you think of e-com, man, nobody, like, I think it's like 66% or some high, I don't have the stat in front of me. I just remember it was super high. They won't buy something unless there's some kind of review or chance for them to kind of validate or verify something. Like, people are doing comparison shopping. It's not going to be just impulse buys anymore. And if people just go in that mode and think that education either isn't worth doing or is a threat, then they're doing everything wrong, because we have just much more sophisticated customers in 2018.
Absolutely. So in terms of the partner program that you guys have put together, who would you say is a good fit for the partner program, and maybe who is not a good fit for the partner program?
Yeah, I think so. We have different tiers of that. So but in general, I've seen like you kind of want to be have some momentum behind you in there. Like individual consultants, I haven't seen as like a perfect fit for it, because I think that they might be focused more on just kind of bringing in more customers, or some of the problems are in, just like acquisition and those types of things, where if they don't have kind of a playbook to work off of, it's just more difficult to implement, like, our pitch decks or anything like that, or some of the other stuff that we share with people. Generally we see people, it's generally 5 or more employees at that agency kind of working there. So you can have people who specialize and kind of focus in there. And also just, a lot of the stuff we teach right out the gate, because we believe anybody who becomes a partner should be able to ROI off of that, like almost immediately, is how to expand revenue and retainers. That's where we really, really specialized in, and kind of helping people out and like, hey, who are your customers that you talk to the most? And have you asked them this yet? and how to frame those types of conversations. I mean, we do partner training days in office in Austin, Texas. And I remember one of the old school ones during like the beta program for this, where we used to give them this one email and say, hey, send this to like 5 of your best clients and tell us how it went in the morning. And nearly every case is like, oh, we've either booked meetings or I saw expansion, like MRR within that retainer, like immediately. So
Wow.
we'll help people there because we want people to make this like a no-brainer. Like when they join up and be like, hey, here's some stuff you can do to ROI off of this. And then the rest is just, that's your money at that point. That's just profits at that point.
That's fantastic. So for our listeners who aren't part of agencies, and maybe are one man or woman marketing teams or on in-house marketing teams, first of all, what does Digital Marketer have for these guys? Yep. And also, you talked about it a little bit at the beginning of how you guys just have a culture and you specifically have objectives around educating yourself. So is there any advice that you would give to our listeners on how to stay educated in the digital marketing space? Yeah.
I mean, one thing that's super interesting in general is if you look at like just education as a whole, when people are getting out of college now, they're if they study marketing or business, in most cases they're studying history, because everything changes so rapidly. And that's why you've been seeing more things like, Coursera and those things pop up. And but those have a lot more lifestyle stuff in there and not as much things on the marketing side, and things that are done on the marketing side are generally more theory. If you're going to be reading about and like training and getting an education with kind of like more pragmatic lessons and useful ones that you can actually take back and say, like, I know how to do this now. You have to get it from the people who are outside of the theory world and those types of things. So with Digital Marketer, we're all practitioners of what we do, and we share, our wins, our losses, kind of everything in between. And it's great for anybody who is, I think a solo consultancy, anybody who works in-house at a marketing company, anybody who's just even interested in this. It's really great education for people on sales teams to understand how marketing works, or even our CTO, like he's never he's never run a marketing campaign ever in his life, but he can talk, I think, more eloquently and in a more educated fashion than I think that 90% of marketers can, coming right out of school, at least. I mean, 100% of them coming out of school, 90% of people that have been in the industry for a while. So we've created things Digital Marketer Lab is kind of our flagship product. So we have the Certified Partner Program and then Digital Marketer Lab, where there's 3 tiers of it, where there's Digital Marketer Lab Basic, which is all of our execution plans, weekly office hour calls, as well as our access to our community, our private Facebook group, which it's crazy to watch how that thing grew. It used to be that myself, Ryan, Richard, and others would have to jump in and answer questions a lot, but the community just does it themselves now. It's unbelievable. And I'll tell you, people join Lab for like a specific task, and then they stay. And I actually pulled the numbers for this, where I looked up, I did a random sampling of people that were in Engage and then that weren't. And then I took a look at their lifetime value. Specifically just the value of I think they spend like another 5 months in Lab, like on average. It's crazy. And then so Lab Plus is an example of things that's like, if you want to know more broad topics and like kind of master kind of the different disciplines of marketing, like, email marketing, content marketing, search, optimization, testing, analytics, and those things, we give people, broad courses to do that. And certification there. And then the really, like, my favorite product, and I'm not just saying this because it's our most expensive one, and it's just super cool, the idea of kind of group coaching and accountability, because like education and information without any sort of implementation is useless. Just knowing something, it's like, okay, you're just going to pontificate at some sort of marketing networking event about this stuff. It's like, well, did you do it? And doing it is so hard. So we created a product line called Lab Elite, where we do at minimum 1 new workshop a month. But that's the kickoff of what we call an execution cycle, where it's a 10-day cycle where a group of people are all going to be working on a very specific task and working together and helping each other out during that period of time with the kind of sanctioned expert. And on day 10, they launch whatever it is. So for instance, I did one where it was how to launch your first landing page split test, even if you've never done it before. So I walked them through how I break down analysis, how you actually get a test started within VWO, and then had to kind of walk people through launching those by the end of that cycle. And it was super cool because like I taught logic in college, and like that was just kind of like, oh, they took a test and then they move on from there. Whereas, hey, you taught these people this and they did something and they're seeing results, and there's nothing like that at all. It's phenomenal. So that's what we have kind of for anybody that's kind of a solo shop or is working in-house for people, or is just into marketing or trying to learn more from there.
That's fantastic. So to wrap this up, would you say, outside of, obviously getting hooked up with Digital Marketer's tools, what would be like 2 or 3 things for our listeners, your advice? Maybe it's reading a book a week or a specific book that you've read recently. What would your advice be to any of our listeners on how to stay educated in this crazy, ever-changing space? I love how you said that getting an education in marketing is like getting history lessons.
Yeah.
It's like already old news a year later. I remember like people who just graduated maybe 2013, 2014 were learning, direct, like all kinds of direct mail and billboard marketing. And that was the latest and greatest.
And they're probably still being taught that. That's because also, like, if you have tenured faculty in there, they're not going to learn this stuff. They're not going to do it. So I have 2 books that I'd recommend reading. Scott Brinker, who is now at HubSpot. He's also a chief martech. He wrote a book called Hacking Marketing. I also do this thing where like I take the covers off of books because I think they're gaudy. So you can't see anything, but Hacking Marketing is really good. And then also challenge yourself, because one thing one of my professors taught me years and years ago, I'm actually going on like my 10-year my 10-year anniversary from college. That's getting crazy. I'm old now. But one of the things I like to challenge myself to do, and this is just a bit of advice that I like to give people, is if you're not like one standard deviation outside of your comfort zone, then you're not going to be growing. So you need to do things that make you feel a little uncomfortable and kind of get out of that. But if you go too far, then you're going to fail. But you need to be outside your comfort zone slightly at any given time in order to grow. And I think that's where this book comes in, which is more about kind of business growth and those things. It's called The 4 Disciplines of Execution. It's super dense, but it's probably one of the cornerstones of everything we're doing here at Digital Marketer internally, for how we create goals and how we meet those and how we kind of work with leading and lagging measures to see if we're on track. And that falls from the executive team all the way down. So I'd look at not just marketing education. I know that's like a guy that works for a marketing education company. Should absolutely look at our stuff and do those things. But also remember that marketing is a subset of just overall business growth. And you need to keep that in mind when you're kind of thinking about new campaigns. It's like, does this thing actually matter? I think the 4 disciplines will really help you out there.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. If people want to learn more about Digital Marketer, want to reach out, have questions, where can they find you?
Oh yeah. digitalmarketer.com. It's a very appropriate, website URL, I'd like to say.
Solid URL there.
Yeah, that's legit. All right. Also, you can hit me up really anywhere. I'm on Twitter, but I don't really do anything there. I just kind of like retweet things every now and then, and that's not really that useful. I post a lot of rants on LinkedIn, like a lot. Pretty angry dude, I guess. So if you want to check me out there, I think it's just like IN/JT Rondeau, and talk with me there.
Angrymarketer.com.
That costs about $2,000, and I haven't bought it yet. But like, I'm just waiting for like a night that I had like a couple of glasses of bourbon, and I'm like, screw it. So maybe that's coming, unless someone else gets it after here.
That's fantastic. Well, thanks so much for joining, and till next time, we'll chat later.